Well, we'll crack on to the for the Wednesday bash. Uh, and welcome who's coming this morning. I think the word of caution this morning, obviously, is that it's going to be very quiet this morning. Those of you who have been sent the email I sent, I think I sent two out. There's a sort of very good cartoon from David Bell out about the FOMC. I'd recommend you read that to do your research because it's quite a pleasant read. And if you haven't done your research on FOMC and realise why everyone's talking about it, you are a mug to yourself. So I'll quickly go on to Wednesday before we go into FOMC. Not let out on the wires this morning, 10 o'clock, we've got European CPI. We're obviously aware of Christine Lagarde. She did mention CPI about 28 times last week, but it's not an issue with the Europe and inflation. Obviously, 10 o'clock, not usually too bothered about it, but we have a UK gilt auction, 2.5 billion, and at 10:30 we have a German auction at 1.5 billion. The only reason I've mentioned the auctions today is because one of the probably the best contracts to trade uh, when Powell speaks later on, maybe the US Treasury bonds. However, we'll go through that because I think we're doing a Zoom later at that this afternoon. 12:30, we've got a US, we've got housing starts that comes out. Probably won't be a lot. Obviously, those of you who are aware, 6 o'clock, the clocks have jumped forward. So whereas FOMC is nearly always at 7, obviously we knock an hour off, so it's 6. So 6 o'clock, we have the FOM decision that comes out, i.e., what the interest rates are, what are the dot plots. I've done the dot plots with quite a few of you. And on that email that's been sent out to most of you, I can see most of your names are on there. If you haven't got the email sent out to you, chuck it on a discussion group and I'll send it out to you later this morning. Obviously, the dot plots, everything else will be important. All the rumors are going out. Powell to resist the QE guidance. Obviously, he was very clear 2-3 weeks ago that he wasn't overly bothered about inflation. Did I say that 3 or 4 times? I may have to repeat it later in the day too. Obviously, other news out today, what we saw out all this week, which I think has confused a few people, when the vaccine was withdrawn from Europe, from France and Italy, there's a slight U-turn overnight from because the regulator has come out and said it won't kill you or give you a blood clot. I'm slightly worried because I've got my vaccine next Monday. The other thing, 10-year yields, we mentioned that again, along with the bond auctions, they're ticked slightly higher to 1.61. Those of you are aware of the 10-year yields, they were 0.66 this time last year. And I think 2 weeks ago to the 1.65. I think the danger level there, the crisis level, if they hit 2%. Again, those of you, Google it, send it out, try and work out what the dot plot is. There's a chart out there. I sent it to you. The statement that will come out at 6 p.m., most of the juice will be in the first paragraph. We'll go through that later on today. And the other one we have to learn out is the SLR questions, which are doing the rounds today. And I think we sent that out again early in the emails today. Right, we've got 4 or 5 minutes. Today, I think the question very much so will be keeping your hands in your pockets rather than trading. Because I think it's going to be a very quiet morning and probably a very quiet afternoon. All eyes are on FOMC. And obviously, tomorrow we've got Bank of England and Friday, Bank of Japan. Why is it important? Powell can say whatever he wants, but whatever Powell says will affect the currencies, will affect the indices, will affect government bonds, and will affect commodities. So it's a massive speech for Powell to make today in that he wants to try and create fair and orderly markets. He will try and resist any change, any talk about anything else. However, remember on that dot plots, there are 19 people who vote in the FOMC, and they've been having their chat for the last 2 days. And obviously, the end result will be the statement at 6 p.m. tonight. So, therefore, tune in then. In theory, there's no point trading really this morning. There's nothing coming out. And as we've seen at the moment, what we've got Wall Street currently. Let's whack on the shared screen here. We've got Wall Street currently basically unchanged. We've got FTSE almost unchanged, and we've got DAX almost unchanged. No shock there whatsoever. So again, if you're on a simulator, have a look at some new markets, have a look at some government bonds, see where they are, and test those. You know, one of the things when it is quiet, you can do 2 things. You can research, go into the FOMC, the emails that have been sent out to you, I'd read them, write them down. If you can, look at the previous FOMC's meetings and see what comes out in the statement. Last meeting, there was no dot plot. I might whack up quickly because we've got a bit of time, because I don't think there's going to be a lot in the market this morning, and there may not even be a scalp this morning. But we've got 3-4 minutes to do it, and see what we've got on the dot plot. If we've got it here, I think we've got a better chart elsewhere. I'll try and find that chart for you while we're going on here. There we are. We've got it in here. No, I think I found it early on yesterday. Right. Here we are. Right. Those of you, I think I showed most of you before. This is the dot plot that comes out. Every minister who votes on the dot plot, as you can see here, 2020, 2022, all 19 of them will vote, yeah, where they expect interest rates to be over the next 2-3 years. Obviously, this was done last year, so we can ignore it. 2021, 22 looks as though rates are going to be unchanged. Powell's been very clear, very precise, that he expects rates to be unchanged until at least 2023. As we've seen here, one very naughty boy here, Harker, voted that interest rates to go up, and obviously we have 5 dissenters here. The interesting thing here is we look at the far right here, longer term. That longer term beforehand is anything up to 2030. This may come to 2023. Why? Yields. Yields are up to 1.61. If they're up to 2%, you will not probably get 11 people voting here. You'll probably get people at 0.5 to 1%. A slight shock in the markets, obviously, if we have interest rates up to 2.5%. Those of you who are as old as me, or even older than Ray, yeah, will remember interest rates above 5% or indeed 10%. If they're up there, then that will obviously be a shock to the indices, will be a shock to the treasuries, will be a shock to the commodities, and be a shock to the FX. If you've got 2023 or even 2022, 3 or 4 people dissenting, that will probably put a massive strength to the dollar, yeah, and will push it up very fast. So it's 6 o'clock when the statement comes out. If you find out the dot plot, it comes up then, and instead of having one person here, we've got 5 people there. The dollar could rally 100 ticks in about 10 seconds flat, as obviously the treasuries and everything else will move that fast. So that's the reason as such why, in a way, Powell's speech is so important today. Okay, right. I've got the DAX up here. What we're going to look at on the scalping thing, I think we're very quiet. In theory, I reckon we've got levels at, from yesterday round about 50, 60, and obviously down below here. What have we got here? POC 32. I looked at it early on. I've gone back again on the DAX's instance, 14,508 to 10, a massive support line here. But I do think we could be stuck in a 40 or 50 tick range this morning. So we're going to have a look at the opening. But remember, if it doesn't move, we don't trade. And I think this week on the open has been fairly tricky, to say the least, whereas last week it's fairly easier. So again, if there is nothing there, we don't trade. So in theory, if you want to trade it on the POC or levels and anything else, remember the DAX was way up here when we shut close to it yesterday as such, and we drifted back down. So we may see a rally up, you think. I mean, when we spent ages around this 50, 55 level yesterday before we broke through. So we've seen from what have we got here. Let's put it on a 5-minute chart, make it look more professional, make it look as though it's slightly more busier, and see where we go to. And fairly boring and quiet. And I can expect that candle to change colour 3 or 4 times in the next 120 seconds. Yeah. All I've got in the market at the moment, I've got a bid in way down at 145.08 and 10, and with a 10 tick stop, and I've got an offer in at 146.00, miles away. So I don't think I'm going to trouble the scorers, but you watch to see the price set that comes in. FTSE's hardly moving. Wall Street's hardly moving, and always see it again. You're aware that most of you have been in there. You can see that candle going red to green, as we expected earlier on. But I suppose if you had to trade at the moment, you probably would have been slightly long at 8 o'clock. But to me, a 5-6 tick move in DAX isn't worth putting the trades on. Yeah. Again, those of you who are trading, yeah, work out what you want to trade and how much you want to lose. I know it's a horrible word to use. So therefore, keep your powders dry until this afternoon or to after 6 o'clock. Remember, Powell speaks at 6:30. there's no point stopping yourself out or thinking I've only got one trade left before he stands up to speak, rather, because then you are a total wally. Because I think you find a lot of people today will be coming into trade after Wall Street opens. Yeah, they're probably a lie-in today. Again, looking at DAX, we see that what's that from 8 o'clock, a 20-tick rally. FTSE's had a 6-7-tick rally. I'm looking at Eurostox here. What have we got in Eurostox? Well, Eurostox are obviously tracking the bunds. Again here, what have we got here? 44, 4-5 ticks, the same. Tight. If it was going to be a scalp today, it would have been a really tight scalp for your first opening trade. But I think in fairness, what we've got on later this afternoon, keep your powders dry for obviously 6 o'clock. Again, however, be that DAX. I know it's quite strange when you put a 5-minute chart. I know some people like 5-minute charts, but I tend to prefer 15-minute charts. Again, that candle's fairly. What is from DAX? 18 ticks, 20 ticks. Theory, there was a scalp there. We see it. We're carrying up there. So those of you who are thinking, oh, what can we do here? There is a bar in the camp in the DAX. We've seen that very clearly on the price section, and we're probably looking at a target around about 66, 68, where we are here. And did we go any higher up there later on? These single prints here. In theory, you want to put maybe an offer in at 88, 90. On the safe side, my offer is a lot higher than that. Not that much higher. What do I say? 14600. But again, the price, learning about the price action, seeing the price action, very clear that the last minute or so, there was a very clean bar in the DAX. I didn't follow him, partly because I'm basically want to keep my guns dry until 6 o'clock this evening. So there we have it. Short one today. Anything else? Those of you who are in today, there's a Zoom at 5:50 this afternoon. Also, we have one on Thursday at 11 o'clock. Those of you who did the CME, S&P, micros, and options, there's a person coming to talk about ladders. Those of you who don't understand ladders trading, basically it's a sort of professional terms which most of the big boys use, where you can see all the bids and offers in the market 10, 20, 30 ticks away. And obviously that platform normally costs about £500 to £1,000 a month. But it's the same thing as if you buy a Ford Fiesta, you get what you get. And if you buy a Ferrari, you get what you get as well. So it's interesting. He's going to come to a webinar next. Got nothing to do with us. If you're interested in doing it, that will be at 11 o'clock on Thursday as such, just before the Bank of England. Okay, we'll be back. Those who've got one-to-ones, we'll be doing that this morning. We'll probably be looking at some weird spreads. I know loads of you are enjoying the spreads. And when it's quiet like this, remember the DAX and Eurostox have a great correlation. And we have a look at it here as such. What do we have now? The Eurostox is almost unchanged on a day, and the DAX is almost unchanged. Those of you want to trade it, I might get Mike up. Mike's our new man here from Leeds, a new trader, and he's been trading these spreads and quite enjoy it. As we had Imran, and I think it's a great way to work out the price action and look at new markets and see if there are correlations with the market. I mean, and if you look at both arrows here on the DAX and Eurostox, they're roughly the same. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Mike. I think, what is it? We're 9-2, aren't we? We're 9 stocks to 2 DAX, and you play it either way, whichever way you go, and they're both going the same direction.
2 to 9. I say 2 to 9. So 2 Germany against 9 Eurostock.
I know, and a lot of new people will be carrying on here and actually enjoying it, because it's weird how most people who trade these spreads make money. So if those who've got nothing else to do today, I mean, Mike, give us a quick 10 seconds. I mean, why did you enjoy trading with spreads rather than individuals?
Well, for the first couple of trades that I put on, I made money.
That does help, yeah.
On a sim, but then I lost my ass on a couple of trades as well. But the risk versus reward. So currently I've got a trade on Germany. It's currently out by 50 quid, but then the Eurostox is your losses are not quite as great. Let's just put it like that. I guess there's a term for it, Neil.
Well, I think so. I think it's also, from learning point of view and everything else. I mean, if you look at the candles on both sides here, they're probably identical. Yeah. And like you said, if DAX goes up, the rules, I think when we say it's 4.5 to 1, I think the easy terms for those who haven't traded it before, if the DAX goes up 5 ticks, stocks goes up 1.
Yeah.
and look at it that way. So those who've got nothing else to do, whack it on your demo, go on your sim, and see if it works. Yeah. And any questions, Mike's your new guru on the spreads, so go to him. Right. Right. Those of your one-to-ones, we'll do them in the next hour or so. But anything else, anyone who wants tips on horses, Bianca's our guru, and she'll come in and tell you what to bet on.
Get him on a discussion group, Bianca. Get him on now.
Yeah.
Guys, no, don't think that's a good idea.
Right. Apart from that,
Thank you, Neil.
all right, we'll be back at 5:50 for the FOMC Zoom. All right, I'll speak to you all later. Have a good day.
Neil, can I have a chat with you a second?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was just looking this